Dynamite download.
The thing that I thought going into the match and going into this week's show that all of us would be buzzing about was not Pac. It was not the Penta versus Ray Phoenix. It was the induction of MJF and Wardlow into the inner circle, and it lived up to everything that I had hoped for. I thought that these guys, again, they executed what they do best, and that's find a way to make entertaining, comical, just easy to watch television. They're just naturals together. Even when you feel like a segment is starting to get like weird or kind of go off the rails, even when Jericho kind of flubs a line, they all roll with it together. They all laugh. They have a way of making it feel very natural. And they're going to Vegas next week. So we're in for a ride. We're only 1 week into MJF and Wardlow being into the inner circle, and we are going to Vegas. It's going to be a hell of a party. I can't wait to see what's in store for us next week.
This picture says it all.
I didn't see the pictures of. I didn't see this picture. I like how Wardlow and Hager are still giving each other the side eye, the side eye to each other, and Ortiz and Sammy couldn't look more bummed out. This is that's an awesome picture right there.
This is a picture of many different stories, and I tweeted it before the segment, and I was going out on a limb with my bold predictions that this is where the inner circle turned on Jericho, and just the way they approached the ring, I thought it was going to happen. And I think it still will happen, and I'm making that prediction again that the inner circle will turn on Jericho eventually, because it's just the crowd is popping for Jericho. They want him to be this babyface, fan
I don't know,
favorite.
man. If you follow him on Twitter, you get a lot of people who are hating him for reasons outside of wrestling.
This whole mesh of everyone, and at first they weren't saying and Wardlow like last week when it was a stipulation. Now they're adding Wardlow to it, so it's a 2-for-1. I think that my prediction for what's going to happen is Jericho does get turned on by the inner circle, Wardlow does turn on MJF, and some kind of more feuds happen through there. I don't really know. I have to think it through a little bit more, but the overall segment, honestly, it kind of fell flat for me because I expected more. It was just essentially a promo with a podium, and these guys are gold and outstanding on the mic and in the ring. Their story they told on Full Gear was great, and MJF again just proving time and time again how ahead of this time he is. And he even said it like, the stuff he said was so comical, but just the ending was just kind of stale and just like going to Vegas. I'm sure it's going to turn out great. The segment will turn out great, but just
you and I aren't big.
We're going to Vegas.
You and I aren't big Vegas guys, right? So we're not gamblers and stuff like that. But if we had the money that MJF has, that maybe it would be a little different experience. But
I mean, I was just in Vegas 2 nights ago and riding down the strip, and it was definitely not my scene. But what MJF and Jericho is going to do, it'll be very interesting. So
it will. I think that unfortunately, and I've noticed this trend. Your expectations for MJF and Jericho segments on their own is really high. I think it's like when they come together, you're expecting like the best surf and turf meal of your life every single time. And I know you're a good eater, but maybe this is like a case of you having like your 7th or 8th plate of surf and turf, and it's just not as good as the first time these two guys got together. Maybe the whole thing of diminishing returns comes into play here.
Vegas,
what a
baby.
Sweet picture. Maybe the whole thing of diminishing returns comes into play here, where it's like you've seen them you've seen them interact, and the sort of the novelty of these two being on screen together,
right,
has made you kind of not pop just for seeing that, and now you want more. And I understand.
I do want more, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
I understand
right. That's
that.
for sure.
You're not going to get the debonair dinner every week. You're not going to get that, right? Next week we're going to have this over-the-top crazy thing out of Vegas, and I'm sure that some people will think that it's ridiculous and corny, and then others will think it's great.
What do you think is going to happen?
I personally think that they continue to progress the story along.
Okay.
I think that they do a nice job, again, even with something little like Sammy, MJF and Sammy, they're kind of ongoing jabs at each other, and how MJF is slowly kind of elbowing Sammy out of the picture. They do some things here that continue to further the motivations of each of the characters in the inner circle. You see Ortiz maybe slowly starting to come around. He's, Santana certainly is on board now after getting the free trip to Vegas. So you're starting to see some of these things coming into play, and it makes me interested to see what's going to happen. Is MJF going to end up kind of manipulating himself into control of the most dominant and elite group in AEW?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's what SPD thinks.
Yeah.
What ends up happening, right? What ends up happening to Jericho if that happens? Do they outsmart MJF, and do they catch him trying to do this? And who knows what's going to happen here? Does Wardlow end up selling out MJF at some point? It's definitely interesting. I want to see that slow played. I'd love to see MJF and Wardlow actually work well with the inner circle for a little
that
while,
would be fun.
And slowly build their trust, right? Slowly win them over and actually achieve some great things, and then have something, happen where it blows up. Because I find it entertaining. I think that these guys are great. They're naturals on the mic. And the more that we get to see this, the more we get to see characters that I don't think are gonna. There's only so much screen time to go around, but we want to see more Wardlow.
Right.
I love Santana and Ortiz, and the more we get to see those guys on television, the better. So.
Yeah, and I'm curious if they're going to be accepting applications, because I wore my inner circle tonight.
I know you're repping that shirt. I love that.
I love this shirt, so I would love to join it.
I think they might be kicking you to go hang out with Peter Avalon, but speaking of